Hello to my beauty advisor. Welcome on board. So, I'm going to take you through the 7 main steps on how to create a custom blend foundation. And we're going to use the easier version, so to speak. We're going to use the version basically without the new additives. So, once your client has completed the questions on the bottom of the survey sheet, in regards to coverage, sunscreen, type of finish, etc., it's really going to allow you to know what exactly is going to go into the foundation. So it's really simple. Sometimes we complicate things, so I want to show you how simple it actually is and for you to follow and be able to just practice on different clients until you see how easy it really is. So the first step is to take a look at their coverage. So in your beaker, the first things that are going to go inside of your beaker are your white bottles, are your modifiers, okay? After the modifiers are put in, then we're going to work with the base. But we need to know which modifiers are going to go in, so then once we get to step 4, we would actually know how much base is going to go into the rest of the beaker. Okay, so it all depends on the modifier. So step 1 is coverage. So if they prefer a thin sheer coverage, you could do up to 15 milliliters, okay? So you would do up to 15 milliliters of thinner to make a really sheer, almost like a beauty balm sheer foundation. If they just want it a little sheer, then you as a custom blend specialist could decide on your own if you would like to make it 10 milliliters or 5 milliliters. It all depends on what you think the client really wants as the artist. So let's say they would like sheer foundation, then we would deposit 15 milliliters of the sheer thinner modifier into the beaker, okay? Now, please keep in mind that you might be pouring the foundation or the products into the beaker if you're keeping a very steady hand, if you're keeping it flat so you're able to see the numbers on the beaker. However, if you are using pumps, anytime you have milliliters, pumps are always double. So I like to think of high heels. High heels make us taller or bigger than we already are. So pumps, you would double. Okay, so 50 milliliters would be 30 pumps of the thinner. So say we would do 30 pumps of the thinner, and that would go into the beaker. So then we would take our sheet and we would record, sorry, it might be a little opposite, we would record that we put in 15 milliliters of thinner. If they wanted a medium coverage, then we would just put an X here because we wouldn't add any type of coverage. The base alone is going to substitute for the medium coverage. And then if they want a full coverage, that's when you're going to use your coverage enhancers, which are in your round tubes. And depending on the amount of coverage that they're looking for, you're going to either use 1 scoop or you're going to use 2 scoops. Now, each scoop is 2.5 milliliters. Just keep that in mind. And it's also here on your survey. Okay, it also states it right there. So you would open up the jar if they wanted more coverage. And you could always add more coverage at the end. Let them see what the medium coverage looks like because our foundations are 11% pigmented. Many on the markets are only 6 or 7% pigmented, and when you use the full coverage, it makes it 23% pigmented. So this is strong enough to basically cover a tattoo. So 1 scoop is a lot of coverage. So if they're really looking for 2 scoops, you want to make sure that they understand the pigment, the percentage of pigment in our products. Okay, so let's just repeat that. We did step 1, we're looking at coverage. If they wanted thin coverage, if they wanted like a sheer foundation, then you would put 15 milliliters of thinner into the beaker. If they wanted a medium coverage, you wouldn't put anything. And if they wanted a full coverage, then you would match the best coverage enhancer. Okay, you could even mix 2 if you think that's necessary to do, and you would put 1 or 2 scoops. Now, it's always important to record how many milliliters you put into the beaker, okay, so we keep track. We're only making liquid for you right now. So now we're on to step number 2 already. Now, sunscreen. Our foundations, the bases already have an SPF of an average of 7. Would you like to increase that SPF to a 15? That's what a lot of people usually know, an SPF of 15. And if they say yes, then we would take our sunscreen modifier and we would put 10 milliliters, which if you're doing pumps, it would be 20 pumps of sunscreen to make it an SPF of 15. If they didn't want any additional sunscreen, you would check nothing, and then formula amount is either going to be 0, 5 milliliters if they wanted an SPF of 10 to 12, 13, or an SPF of 15 would be 10 milliliters. Okay, many people are used to knowing SPF of 15, so keep it easy for yourself. You could tell them that the foundation already has an SPF in the base. Would you like to increase it to an SPF of 15? And that solves that. Okay? Going on to the third step, we're going to see if they want a matte look to their foundation or more of a dewy look. This is the mattifier. Or more of a dewy look, which is by using Pearl. Okay? So if they want a matte look to their foundation, we're going to use 2 scoops of mattifier. So you would use these scoops. Here's mattifier. You would open up the bottle, pour into the scoop, and then into the beaker. Okay, so you'd be adding in 10 milliliters if they wanted a matte look. If they wanted a dewy look, then you could put about 2 to 4 pumps of Pearl into the beaker. Okay, now be careful because our toners are very highly pigmented. Okay, toner, Pearl is considered a toner, very highly pigmented. So you do want to be careful as to how much. Remember, it's so much easier to put in than to take out. Okay. All right, so moving along here, that was Pearl. And then we have steps 1, 2, and 3 already completed. So let's calculate how much product we have put into the beaker. So let's say they wanted a sheer foundation and we put 15 milliliters into the beaker. Then we would write 15 ml here. Okay, let's say they wanted extra sunscreen. Okay, so we put in 10 milliliters of sunscreen. And say they wanted a matte look to their foundation, which is 2 scoops, and 2 scoops, every scoop equals 2.5, so 2 scoops equal 5 milliliters. So right now we have 30 milliliters in the foundation. Okay, so that's a lot of milliliters, isn't it? Right off the bat to have in the foundation. Okay, because we always want to fill the beaker up to 30. Now, the regular size bottles hold 35 milliliters of foundation. Okay, so what we're going to do here is, okay, so say there's already 30 milliliters of product that we put in. We put in thinner, they wanted extra sunscreen, and they wanted mattifier. Okay, so it doesn't leave us too much room for a lot of base, but that's okay. All right, because remember, we could fill the bottle up to 35 milliliters. Okay, so now we're going to choose the base color. Okay, now we're going to choose the base color. Take a look at your clients. Do they fall in the light category, a medium category, or more of a dark category? Okay, say that you streak them with 2 foundations and you think both of them match. That is perfectly fine. Both of them can match, and all you do is you would split the amount of milliliters that are left in the foundation in between those 2 colors. So I myself, I'm porcelain and beige. So if I had 5 milliliters left, I would put 2.5 milliliters of porcelain and 2.5 milliliters of beige into the beaker with the other modifiers. Okay? Now let's just play around and say that these numbers switched. Say they wanted medium coverage. Okay? and say they did want sunscreen, 10 milliliters, and they did want mattifiers, a mattifier, 2 scoops, which is 5 milliliters. So say that we only, with steps 1, 2, and 3, we only have 15 milliliters into the bottle. Okay, so now if we have 15 milliliters into the bottle, we would subtract 15 by 30, and that leaves us with 15 milliliters for the base. So we would basically take 15 milliliters and split it in half, which would be 14.5 milliliters and 14.5 milliliters if you're using 2 bases. If you're using 1 base, it would just be 7.5 milliliters and 7.5 milliliters would equal 15 milliliters. So let's just repeat that. So if you added up the total of 1, 2, and 3, and it added up to, say, 15, you would subtract 15 from 30 milliliters, okay? 15 from 30 milliliters, and you would have 15 left, okay? Half of 15 is 7.5 and 7.5. So if you're using 2 bases, you would put 7.5 milliliters of beige and 7.5 milliliters of porcelain, okay? If you're just using 1 base, you would then put 15 milliliters of base. I'm just giving you a few examples so you could see how it works, okay? So once you have the beaker filled up to 30 milliliters, you have an extra 5 milliliters for steps 4.5, 5, 6, and 7, okay? So basically you have 5 milliliters left from the toners down, okay? So 5 milliliters left from the toners down, okay? Now, you don't have to guess or try to figure out and use the color theory, which is what we use, to come up with this cheat sheet. Okay, so on this cheat sheet, it's going to tell you exactly which pigments, toners to put in. That's going to cancel out any pigments in the skin, and that's going to cancel out any pigments that are in the foundation. So you could really get that even, balanced look, okay? It should really just disappear within the skin. So for myself, I am porcelain and beige. So if I go under the porcelain and beige category, it tells me that I would use 2 pumps of purple toner, 2 pumps of yellow toner, and 1 pump of yellow red. So it's as simple as that. So you grab the toner color that they recommend and you place that into the beaker, okay? With toners, we use pumps. We don't pour, okay? We use pumps for those. And then going to the next step, this is where we get to our serums and more of our skincare. So do we have dry, combination, or oily? I specifically have dry skin. Therefore, I would put in hydrator. If someone has oily skin, they would put in oil control. There it is. And if someone has combination skin, you could put in both. Now for these 2 blue bottles, the oil control and the hydrator, you are only to put in half a dropper's worth, 0.5 milliliter of product into the beaker, into the foundation, okay? If they have combination, you could use 0.5 and 0.5. It's so weird doing this opposite and looking at myself. So 0.5 and 0.5. And then that would cover step number 5. And then we would go to anti-aging, which is step number 6, and that would be if they would like our ultra firming. Ultra firming basically gives a tightening effect to the foundation. So you kind of feel like you look like you have a tightening effect to your skin. And with the ultra firming, you are to put in a whole dropper's worth, 1 milliliter, into the beaker. Okay, where the other 2 blue bottles, the oil control and the hydrator, are only half a dropper, which is 0.5. And last but not least, we're just going to take our fringe benefits, which acts as a filler, acts as a primer, really helps smooth out the skin, helps protect the skin. And if they are into anti-aging, if it's someone that has very smooth skin, young skin, you could put in 2 pumps. But if someone that has more mature skin, you could actually put up to 4 pumps of the Fringe Benefit. All right, and that basically completes our lucky 7 steps. So I'm just going to take you through it one more time. Taking a look at your survey and following this as your guide, you're going to see if they want sheer, medium, or full coverage, and write the formula amount of that product that you put into the beaker. Number 2, sunscreen. Do they want to increase the sunscreen to a SPF of 13 or to an SPF of 15? If they want an SPF of 15, then you would add in 10 milliliters of the sunscreen into the beaker. Then for number 3, if they want a matte look, you put 2 scoops of mattifier. If they want natural, you don't put in anything. And if they want a dewy look, you take the toner Pearl and you could put in 2 pumps to 4 pumps. Okay, now remember, pumps is always double than milliliters. So if you're putting 2 pumps in, it would be 1 milliliter, okay, because it would be half. You add up this column, you minus it from 30. The remaining amount is the amount that's going to go into the beaker of the base. If you're using 1 base, that amount of that base goes right into the beaker, filling it up to 30 milliliters. If you're using 2 bases, you could split it in half and put 2 bases of that amount into the beaker, making sure that numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 hit the line of 30 milliliters. Now for your toners, you're going to take your cheat sheet, and your cheat sheet is going to tell you exactly which toners need to be put into the foundation, into the beaker. Now look at the skin type. Liquid foundation uses these liquid serums, oil control, and hydrator. If they have combination, we could put in both. If they have one, you put in 0.5, half a dropper. Or if they have the other type of skin, hydrating for dry skin, then you would put 0.5. Someone like me who has very dry skin, I would say, please put the whole bottle, but it only will do its max with 0.5. So it's really not worth spending your money on your product and putting extra, because it's not going to do any extra higher than 0.5 milliliters. Then we're going to take our anti-aging product. If someone is sensitive, you want to test it on the inside of their arm for the beforehand. And if you see any redness, then you can see that they're sensitive. There is soy in here, so some people are sensitive to soy, but this is the only product that you would have to test on the body. Everything else is definitely hypoallergenic and works with all sensitive skin. Okay. And we would put in 1 milliliter, which is the whole dropper, into the beaker if they want the anti-aging. And last but not least, we will take Fringe Benefits, which is the filler, the primer, fills in fine lines and wrinkles and large pores, and we would put 2 to 4 pumps. Now we put this product in last because it expands the foundation. Okay, think of like a filler, it expands into the crevices. So you do want to put it in at the end, so then you're able to deposit the product in the beaker into your bottle, okay? And it's kind of like a baking effect that you want to do, just pushing it into the bottle, okay? So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and contact me. I didn't introduce myself. I'm Christina Lampesis. I am Kasha's business partner here in New Jersey, also modus trainer for New Jersey and New York, along with Kasha. And we're really excited to support you and help you and in any way that we can, and help you grow Custom Blend Foundations with Motives. Thank you so much, and I hope to meet you soon. Bye.